What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new furniture video. Today I'm going to be ranking every grade in school. How this is going to work is this is going to be based off of my personal experience because I just recently graduated from high school and now I'm in college. I thought, what better time than now to do this? So, without further ado, let's just get into it. Kindergarten. Well, this is a long, long time ago. Like, for me, kindergarten was 2011, and so, like, basically ancient times. Anybody around in 2011 is basically a fossil at this point. And yeah, kindergarten in 2011 was really, really cool. I remember, I have stark memories of because my house was right next to the school, so I would walk to school every day, even as like a little 6-year-old, and I would walk to school daily. So that was really fun. Some key things about kindergarten: it was basically your first. Of course, you had preschool before that, but it was really your first introduction to anything learning wise. Of course, in preschool you got to learn about your shapes and colors and whatnot. But in kindergarten, I learned about addition and subtraction for the first time, and it was a really fascinating subject at the time. Um, so that was really cool. It Kindergarten really sets the groundwork uh, for all your learning skills that you build on later. So there's that. Let me think of some negatives for kindergarten. Oh, this aside from preschool, of course, but that was, for me at least, preschool was only like 4 hours a day, whereas kindergarten was 6 or 7. It was a huge separation from family, and most kids going into kindergarten never experienced that before. So it's a big separation, and then of course you have to realize people in kindergarten are always usually like 6 or 5 years old, and so they have very, very limited, like super limited attention spans, and that makes learning and other stuff hard for the teachers. So, with all that taken into account, I think kindergarten was good, especially the fact that you're so like, aside from the obvious, the fact that you're so young. I'm gonna put it in B tier because it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad by any means. Kind of forgettable, especially when you're at this point in life. You're super old. Hard to remember everything about kindergarten. First grade. Um, so first grade is kindergarten but mature, and I suppose you could say that for any grade after a different grade, but I really feel like first grade is just a more mature kindergarten. Um, you know people, so you've got time to make friends, and those friendships that are gonna last throughout all of your school and into high school are really starting to bloom in first grade. Uh, you get start to really, well, at least for me, you I started to get to learn better reading skills and math skills in first grade. Uh, my school actually moved schools, so in first grade, I was in a whole new setting, and it was a really cool school. But they tore it down and replaced it with like a Papa John's. So um, there's that. But first grade, it was a cool year. It wasn't amazing or anything. It's kind of like B tier like kindergarten, but there's a few things. Um, as relationships would start to grow with your peers and whatnot, you would make friends, but you'd also make ops, enemies, if you will. And usually these ops aren't really lasting. Like, they just go away after a year or two because you're kids. You're not supposed to remember anything like that. But it's more socially difficult in kindergarten just because you've had that time to grow. So first grade, I'll put it. It's kind of bland, to be honest. When I think of a boring grade, I think of first grade. I'll put it in a C tier. Not good, not bad. And then how I'm doing this is S tier is like the perfect possible year. And this will, of course, vary from person to person, but this is my experience, guys. So, without further ado, let's get into second grade. Now, for me personally, my second grade teacher was kind of a rat. A very unknown thing that happened was I didn't turn in a homework assignment or whatnot, And so the teacher hauled my desk out into the hall and shook all the contents out onto the ground, and as I sat there and wailed. So my teacher wasn't that good of a person in second grade, but aside from that, the friendships that you started to incipiently build in first grade really start to come into fruition in second grade. So you really start to build on friendships, and usually the ops that you made in first grade have usually like oozed away by that time. So it's a fun year. Um, Second grade is really when you start to academically improve. Of course, you'll be improving each year, but second grade, at least for me, is when I really started to learn how to write for long sentences and learn uh, more advanced math like multiplication and whatnot. So it's a good learning experience year, and of course, as you learn more skills, your confidence will increase. So there's that for second grade. But aside from that, expectations also increase in second grade, and so you're getting to be a lot older, of course, than when you were in kindergarten, and with that comes like more responsibilities and expectations. I don't have much else to say about second grade. Oh yeah, when you're within the friendships that you're solidifying, hierarchies start to happen. At least for me, that did. And so if you have like friend groups, they'll usually start to become a hierarchy within those. That's happened for me. So second grade, kind of bland. I'll put it in C tier. Not bad or anything, but not good either. So yeah, boring year. Third grade. Now third grade is a super cool one because it's the transition from being like being an underclassman in elementary school to being an upperclassman in elementary school, and it's a good one. Um, you start to get a lot more independent, and or at least some people do. You would start to do your homework without being asked by your parents and whatnot. Actually, start caring about your grades in elementary school, of course. Um, in third grade, I feel like that's when academic gaps really start to appear. So they would section, at least I remember from my class, they would section us off from the people who were more gifted, as they would say, and the runners up. That was the group that they had. It was very, it wasn't a very good system, but they would section us off between more academically inclined people and less academically inclined people, and this really dwindled. Like this academic sectioning off only lasted till about fifth grade. When we went to middle school, everything, like the groups dissipated, and everyone was placed in the same classes that were a lot more difficult. So, third grade, really good year. I have nothing bad to say about it. I'll put it in B tier. It's good, it's great. Fourth grade, now this is a banger, at least for me. Fourth grade is when you're the second oldest person in elementary school and you're feeling good. You should be, or at least most people would be. If you're in a sport, you really start to get like either really good or really bad at that sport, depending on like what you do. That's when your skills start to really develop, when you're in a sport. You have a lot more responsibility. You have to like manage multiple subjects within the same teacher and long-term projects. At least that's what I did. And but along with that, the social stuff, like I met my best friend for through all of school in fourth grade, and so I think fourth grade is really when the friendships that you really have start to solidify into either if they're gonna be with you for a long time or if they're gonna kind of shirk away, and you of course will make more, but usually they solidify or dissipate in fourth grade, in my experience. A lot more homework in fourth grade, though. There's a lot more to do. But like I said, if you're on a sports team, then you're really getting to know the people on the sports team like super well, and forming lasting relationships with them. And you feel like, at least I did, you feel like you're the top of the world in fourth grade. So I'm gonna put this in A tier because it was wonderful. Fifth grade, you were the top You are the top of the rung in elementary school. Uh, all the younger kids look up to you, so it's a really fun example. And this same trend continues with 8th and 12th grade. But or at least for me, I went to an elementary school that was kindergarten through 5th grade. So and then my middle school was 6th through 8th, and my high school was 9th through 12th. So 5th grade was a huge leadership year. At least, like, you would have tons of opportunities to lead the younger kids in your elementary school through clubs and after school activities and gym class. You would always, at least I would always lead. And it was also a big year for prepping for middle school. I remember the teachers in 5th grade would always be like, whenever we were goofing off, they'd be like, this kind of stuff won't fly in middle school, guys. And of course, people in middle school did not care at all. But it's good prep for middle school. That's 5th grade is when the first few rats start going through puberty. And that's not everybody, but it is when they start teaching. At least for me, that was when they started teaching about puberty and stuff. And so I remember that. And it's interesting, at least for me. I was super interested in it. I had never experienced anything like that before, so I thought it was very, very interesting. And of course, curriculum and whatnot is a lot more difficult in 5th grade, but it comes hand in hand with more fun experiences and whatnot. So since you're the leader and the top of the class, I will give this. Do we want A or B? It's not spectacular, but it's a good year. It's great. I think all the ones where you're the top of the school are wonderful, but I'll put this at B tier because it wasn't amazing, but it was good. 6th grade. Now this is like the first time in a new school, at least for most people. This would be your first time in a new school, and so it would really be your first time in a new setting. It's a fresh start, and there's a bunch more kids from all the other elementary schools joining you in one big school. It's really when you combined all the elementary schools, and lots of new friendships can form and lots of more enemies can be made. Let's see, good things. Since the new environment is there, like I said, it's a fresh start, new opportunities. You'll probably be on a new sports team or whatnot, and so lots of new people to be able to meet. But homework becomes a lot harder. I remember the stark transition from 5th grade where you didn't really have to even do anything outside of school to 6th grade where you would have to really work on your homework outside of school, at least for me, because I'm a worthless learner. So there's that. Social stress is also a huge thing. I remember since I was just starting to pupate in 6th grade, just a little bit. And I remember all the girls being way taller than me and my friends. And so it's a really bizarre time. It's fun, of course, but it's a bizarre time. And since you have to manage your own schedules and go to your own block classes, it's a lot more structured, but a lot more responsibility than elementary school. They really expect you to get around, like at a really huge transition. So 6th grade is fun. I don't have much more to say about it. It's a great experience, but I wouldn't say it's S tier. I'll put 6th grade in. I'll put 6th grade in 8. It's a good year. You're getting to learn new people, meet new people, learn new stuff. I'll put it in A tier. It's good. 7th grade. 7th grade is super awesome. Let's see. Now, for some people, 7th grade is no fun at all because homework gets a lot harder. Ops become made and known, and it's really the awkward phase in terms of puberty. Most boys start in 7th grade, and so it's a really awkward time. And then girls are usually done by 7th or 8th grade. And so boys are just starting to go through it. From, at least for me, my puberty went from 7th to 9th. So it's a weird time, for sure. What else is there to say? There's a lot of Of course, academic pressure, homework gets harder, but the homework in seventh grade is not much more different than it is in sixth grade. So they're about the same, at least for my experience. You really get to develop a sense of who you want to be and who you are in seventh grade. For me, at least. So it's an interesting year, but I feel like it's super socially bizarre because there's a ton of new people, from incoming people from other elementary schools. Like, of course, you met them last year, but this year you're supposed to make friends with them or make enemies with them. So it's really socially difficult, and with all that being placed on, at least for me, a boy, you have to worry about girls and whatnot, impressing. At least I thought I had to impress them in seventh grade. So it's a socially weird year. I'm gonna put it in D tier, just because it's a really weird social soup of a year. Now, on the contrary to that socially weird year, we have eighth grade, where you know everybody in the school. You are just testing out your flirting skills with the ladies, and you're really solidifying friendships and feeling like you're at the top of the world, which of course you're not going to be in ninth grade. But for now, for eighth grade, you really feel like you are the master of the school. You've gone through 9 years of school by this point, and you just feel, or at least for me, I just felt on top of the world. So there was like in fifth grade, there was a ton of leadership roles. My eighth grade year actually got cut short in March because the COVID pandemic started. But from what I did get from eighth grade, it was super fun, and I loved every part of it. There's nothing bad to say about eighth grade except for maybe the transition anxiety from transitioning from middle school to high school. But I didn't even have that because I was all online during that. So for me, I'm gonna put eighth grade in S tier. Wonderful year. Um, let's see. Ninth grade. Ninth grade is very double-sided. At least for me, I spent basically the majority of my ninth grade year online doing distance learning because it was peak COVID. It was 2020 to 2021. And me personally, I loved the experience. I wasn't very good at homework. I didn't get much done, but I loved playing video games with my friends. But from what I experienced as a upperclassman in high school, looking down at the freshmen, it seems like it's a really good year for sports. You get into your sport, and if you're really good, then everyone will recognize you and praise you for that. And if you're not, then upperclassmen will take you under their wing and teach you what you need to know and how to be better at your sport. And you start to build lasting friendships within that. But it's also sad because in high school, there's the element of people leaving, and so all that you get to be friends with all the upperclassmen and whatnot through sports and whatnot. Whereas in the grades below you, you would always just be friends with the people in your grade because that's all you would play against. So in high school, you really start making friends with the people who are in different grades as you, which is a huge thing. It's a fresh start, but it's not that fresh because you're just coming out of middle school from being super comfortable and on top of the world. And so it's different than sixth grade because there's not a bunch of new people. It's all the people from middle school transitioning to high school with you. So there's that. You also get exposure to newish subjects. I remember the stark transition, at least online, from having an in-person gym class to an online gym class, and it was very, very silly. There's a bunch of Zoom meetings, which were fun, but for me, my ninth grade experience was all online. So, of course, being the youngest in high school, I'm sure ninth graders might feel like out of place or intimidated by the older students. And of course, the high school workload is a lot different than the middle school workload. But ninth grade is good. I would go as far to say B tier. Not good, not bad. For me personally, my experience was wonderful, like I said, because I was fully online and it was just a fun gaming year, I guess. But it's a good year. It's not terrible or anything. I think for people who got to experience freshman year in person, if you got to experience it in person, I'm very jealous of you. It sounds like a wonderful year, but I can't put it any higher than B just because I didn't get to experience that. So it seems like an awesome year, but I'm not going to put it higher than B. 10th grade. 10th grade for me, oh gosh. It was the year right after COVID, and we were just starting to get back into school. So we had to, for at least the first half of 10th grade, you were required to wear a mask at all times in school. So you couldn't really see people's faces. But 10th grade is a wonderful year, in my opinion. It's probably one of the best ones because you get to, you really, you're at like that middle area where you're not the oldest person in the school, but you're also not a freshman. And that says a lot. You can make fun of the freshmen, but while also not being a freshman and not being an upperclassman, it's a wonderful social year. You really start branching out in terms of relationships, and most guys finish their puberty by 10th grade, sorry. And it's a wonderful transition from being a timid little freshman to a person who basically knows the entire school and doesn't have anything to worry about. You get your driver's license, most people do, in 10th grade, and then you can drive around with friends. It's a wonderful social year. Confidence growth is huge. You already had 1 year of high school and it's under your belt, and now you just feel super confident and adjusted to high school life. The studies in 10th grade are not that difficult, to be honest. At least I would say they're less difficult than those in ninth grade, just because I think they're what high school tries to do is give you like a little gap year between the bliss of ninth grade and then the absolute terrors of 11th grade, and we'll get into that in a second. But 10th grade is kind of the transition year between those two. And so it's really the only year of high school where you feel fully like a high school student. Of course, the other ones you are a high school student, but you have to deal with things such as being the newest person in the school with freshman year, and then dealing with college and whatnot in 12th and 11th grade. So, yeah, 10th grade, wonderful year. I'm going to put it in S tier because I loved my 10th grade year. All right, guys, now we've got into the horrific one. 11th grade. Ooh, what good things are there to say about 11th grade? Well, there's a lot of leadership roles. You can start to become captains of JV and varsity sports teams within your school if you're good, or if you're just a good leader. And I guess it matures you a little bit because you have to think about college and whatnot and the workload. But yeah, for me, junior year was very difficult. You really start to get into higher level classes. They start to section you off between people who want to be in regular classes and people who want to take classes for college credit, such as CITS and ACT classes, or AP classes, sorry. Speaking of ACT and SAT, that is a big year. You have to study the ACT and SAT book and get a good score on your SAT or ACT if you're going to take that, which I would highly recommend doing. I didn't, and it was not smart of me. So, yeah, rigorous testing, rigorous classes. The classes, like I said already, are super difficult, probably the most difficult of any year of high school. And it's really when the academic workload peaks through any year of school. It's 11th grade, without a doubt. And then you get to be super stressed because you have to deal with looking at college, touring college, managing financial stuff for college, prepping for ACTs, SATs, working on your classes, and managing your leadership roles or regular roles in your sports teams. So there is a lot to do. There's not much time for friends and relaxation time. Of course, a wise person will find time for that, but gosh, 11th grade, you really have to balance everything. So I would say stress level peak. I'm going to put this in, I wouldn't even put it with, I'm going to put it in F tier. It's just not a good year. You can find good things about it, but for me personally, it's just a weird, icky college prep experience year. 12th grade. Um, it's wonderful. It's really sectioned off into the first half of 12th grade where you're cramming to get into a good college and working on financial aid and whatnot and applying for a bunch of colleges and looking at colleges. And the second half, when you are senior sliding, you're in full bliss. You just don't care about classes anymore, and your grades don't matter as much as they would. Of course, they matter a lot. You want to keep up, maintain good grades, but your colleges have, by that point, second part of senior year, already accepted you into whatever they're doing. So, yeah, 12th grade is really fun for the second part and really droll for the first part and stressful. So, I can't give it an S tier, but I can give it an A tier, and I'll tell you why. Because there's so many privileges, like lighter course loads. Usually, people will only take 3 or 4 classes, and then be able to get out at like after lunch every day, which is what I did. And so you can just go home and or go out and do stuff with friends. It's really nice because you don't have many classes, and you can just relax for a year while you prepare for the rigors of college or entering the workforce or the army or whatever you're gonna do. You get to go to senior trips are really fun, and you get a sense of accomplishment knowing that you've basically finished all of high school, and you really it's a time of acceptance and goodbyes as well. Of course, saying goodbye to the underclassmen and all of your friends, and transitioning what leadership roles you might have in sports to the next generation. It's really the end of an era, and there's excitement and anticipation for the graduation and the next chapter of your life, which is college, which is, let me tell you, very, very different from high school. I can't think of many bad things about senior year besides, of course, the hectic first half. I guess senioritis, but it's senioritis is not, guys, trust me, senioritis is not as much of a problem as people make it out to be. Just do your classes, you'll be fine. Just get B's, A's, or if you want to keep up a 4.0, just power through the A's. It shouldn't be that hard, especially because you'll only probably have like 3 or 4 classes, and then the rest of the time you'll either have study halls or you'll be able to go home and work. So it's nice. What other bad things are there? There's I guess uncertainty for the future when you're the impending transition to college, but that doesn't really set in because then after senior year, right after you graduate, there's a bunch of fun grad parties, and the grad party season is wonderfully fun. I never experienced anything like it, and I don't think I ever will again. But I had a blast during the grad party season. You would just bounce from house to house, munching food, saying goodbye to friends, and having a great time playing games and whatnot. So 12th grade, double-edged sword. First year, or first part of it, stressful as heck, and then second part is pure bliss. So I can't put it any higher than an A because of that icky first part, but the second part carries it. So there you guys have it. 8th and 10th grade in S tier, F tier, 11th grade, and everything else bouncing around in the middle. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. It'll probably be a very long time.